Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a wonderful evening so far. Let me take this off. And yet again,
InCamp is changing the way EHS professionals stay in compliance. Tired of spreadsheets to manage spreadsheets? That's where...
Whoa. Everything's acting up today. Whoa. Crazy. So, how is everybody doing? Again, thank you for tuning in. The X Factor Safety live stream. We have a very, very special guest. But before I get into it, let's have a word from our sponsors, InCamp.
Tired of scrambling over Tier 2 EPCRA reports? InCamp's got you covered. Their easy-to-use platform supports Tier 2 portals in all 50 states, so you can submit your reports from every facility, all from one modern system. Stop dreading Tier 2 season and take back your Q1. Learn how InCamp is changing the way EHS professionals stay in compliance. See more at incamp.com/X-Factor. Tired of scrambling over...
Okay, come on. Internet is not wanting to work with me today. It's being very, very, very splotchy. Sorry about that, but I will get back to it here shortly. Hold on one second. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm back. Now, like I was saying, we have a very, very special guest on the show. The one, the only, and before we dive into that, she's already, I see her behind in the green room. She's ready to hop on there. But we're actually going behind the scenes. It's something a little bit different, still involving safety, but it's definitely something a little bit different for everybody to understand that safety's everywhere. No matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, safety is everywhere. So without further ado, let me bring my VIP guest, Siobhan Colleen.
Good evening.
How are you? And I like how you put that in the chat. Technical difficulties. That's the type of stuff we get done here.
I was gonna put the clown emoji, but I didn't want you to think that I was calling you a clown.
No, it's all good.
So I went with the ghost.
Yeah, it's all good. It works. So again, let's dive into why we are here. You, Siobhan Colleen, who are you? What are you about? Let everybody know that does not know you yet.
So yes, I'm Siobhan Colleen. I am an entertainment rigger, technical writer, safety professional, and it looks like we're maybe having some more technical difficulties. I don't know.
No, perfectly fine. I got it. It's a little lag on my end, but it's okay. It'll work the kinks out. People that are listening can hear us. That's what works. The video comes later. But yeah, it'll work itself out, I promise.
Yep. So rigger, technical writer, safety professional, rope access technician, and my most recent endeavor involves being a host for a podcast and a host for a docuseries. We can get into that after all the safety stuff.
Oh, I mean, we can take it however. Again, this is getting behind the scenes literally with you on how you the first question that I have is, how did you get into entertainment rigging?
It started when I was in high school. I wanted to graduate early. The counselor said, get a job so you're not doing nothing at home, which I'm not that type of person anyway. So I asked a mutual friend, and she happened to work for a production company, a production labor company. And I'm a high school kid thinking I'm going to clean toilets and clean up the office and organize papers or whatever. And she goes, "Oh, perfect. We can use you as a stagehand for the Maroon 5 rehearsal." And I'm like, "Is that code for something? What does that mean?" The Maroon 5? Like, we're talking the legit, like, Adam Levine Maroon 5? Or is this like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, it was a private rehearsal for a tour they were going to go on. And I started my career as a stagehand. I did that for about a year. And then I noticed people walking around on the beams above me. And I thought, that looks dangerous and hard, and I want to do it. I want to at least try. So I tried finding myself a mentor, and someone eventually agreed. And then a year after stagehand work, I started rigging, and it just goes from there.
Nice, nice. Now you said, for a year you were a stagehand. Now, what kind of training goes into that? As far as a stagehand, what do you do? Who trains you? Give us a list of, type of activities that a stagehand would end up doing.
It may be different for different companies, and training is not it. Training in the entertainment industry wasn't really big up until recently. So even when I started about 6 years ago, I didn't receive any job training before, showing up to do stagehand work. But even so, stagehand work is mostly you learn on the job. People teach you like what everything is called. That's a PAR, that's a source 4, this is an XLR cable, this is a DMX cable. You see those two cables, you see how each cable and its partner has a different colored tape. Put the colors together, and you're like, okay, cool. And they're like, hey, help me plug the power and the data into the LED wall. And you do what you're told, and you're just your hands to get it happen, to get it done and make it happen. And I never really received training until my mentor taught me how to rig.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot to rigging. And I started off as a ground rigger, so that meant that I needed to know what the different components were called.
Right.
Shackles, steel, wire rope, truss, 1-ton motors, half-ton motors, the works, slings, everything that we use. Learn what everything is called, and then learn how it all gets assembled and how it gets assembled safely. So here's where safety comes in. When you're hanging shows, you've got lights that are 100 pounds each. Some lights are 20 pounds or so, but you've got thousands. When all is said and done, you've got thousands of pounds above the performers and above the audience and above the workers as it's being assembled and installed. So as a rigger, you have to do certain calculations, and you have to make sure you're using all of your equipment within its rated capacity, within its design factor, and all of that. There's an ANSI accreditation and ANSI standards for ESTA. I think I kind of forget what it's the Entertainment Standards Technical. I'm botching it up, man.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry, my fellow.
But it goes into, and we segue into the next part and the next question. So once you got yourself a mentor, how hard was it to actually learn all the components that you're doing? And to second that question, how different would rigging be on an entertainment site versus that of a construction site? And I would like people that are in the chat right now, go ahead and give us some of your go-to rigging while Siobhan gives us the rundown on how hard it was to learn everything.
Yeah. So real quick, we have ANSI accredited standards for the Entertainment Services and Technology Association, ESTA. And each of those standards says, like, there's one for performer flying, there's one for outdoor structures, etc. And we have to follow the standards in order to, make sure that we are rigging safely. So your question was, how hard was it to learn everything? The beginning of rigging, at the beginning of it, the most basic arena rigging, I caught on to it pretty quickly. But then when you're not doing things that are normal and you have to start coming up with unique solutions, that's when it gets really hard, because that's when you really have to know what you're doing. You really have to know your equipment. You need to know how to do the calculations, like I said, because you need to know how those loads are being imposed on everything, So at first it was pretty easy, but then, it gets more and more difficult the more responsibility you take on.
Right.
And your second question, how is entertainment rigging different from construction rigging? So if by construction rigging you're talking about crane rigging, I would imagine, and comment if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that when you're doing crane rigging, you're moving a load from point A to point B, and you're doing it really slowly. And those loads are probably 1,000 to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of pounds, depending on what it is you're moving. So crane rigging, probably going from point A to point B very slowly and with much heavier loads. So all of the shackles and slings that you're using are likely going to be rated at higher capacities than what entertainment riggers require. And with entertainment rigging, some of it is static, but sometimes we're moving LED walls. Sometimes we're moving performers and acrobats. Not that I was responsible for this, but one time I saw Miley Cyrus, coming in on a flying hot dog over the audience.
Oh, I was going to say coming in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But then when you add that dynamic component, think about this. If you're familiar with fall protection and someone takes a fall and you look at how the forces change, when they do that sudden stop, then the forces, you're going to see a spike. So anytime you put a dynamic load in play, you're going to have your forces, it's not going to be static, it's going to be fluctuating. So, and that's just a different kind of rigging, and it requires a little bit different skill set. And there's different things to just take into account when it comes to that.
Nice. And let's get to the chat box. Let's see. Mallory. Hey, how you doing, Mallory? Glad you got it worked out. Safety consultant. My man Sheldon. Sounds like a cool job. Jesus. Howdy, y'all. How you doing, brother? Question right here. What would you say needs the most attention in engineering development in regards to entertainment rigging?
The most attention? That is, I don't know how to, I honestly do not know how to answer that question.
Well, and didn't mean to cut you off, but I guess, from an engineering development, like what do you think, and I can correct me if I'm wrong, Mallory, but what do you think would require the most engineering attention to make it maybe a little more ease of use for the end user, maybe a little more easier for the rigger, in a sense? I don't know.
So here's the relationship between riggers and engineers. You don't always have to have an engineer approve your show. You don't always have to have an engineer approve the building of your show. It's highly encouraged. You especially need it. You really, really should. In fact, it may or may not be a law, but you should definitely consult an engineer if you're doing an outdoor structure, because now you have to have them help do calculations on, wind loads or snow loads or water loads. And, if you're in an earthquake prone area, if you're doing like a museum install, you may want to consult an engineer on seismic loading, and you want to make sure you're using the right gear to hang a helicopter in the lobby of a museum or, whatever it is.
Right.
So, but
Yeah. She said, yes. What is outdated in a sense? What
is outdated? Honestly, I don't really know. There are certainly people in my industry who are better suited for that type of question, and I'll tag them in the comments after this live. But from my perspective, we have a program for it's not a training program, it's a certification program. It's called ETCP, the Entertainment Technicians Certification Program. And it basically it tells employers that you are competent or that you're qualified to do the job of production rigger. And there's one for arena rigging and there's one for theater rigging. There's not one for automation. What there should be one for automation rigging, because if you are suspending loads that are going to be moving, then you need to know how to properly rig those loads. And people should have a certification that says they know what they're doing in those very, very dynamic situations when they have to consider acceleration and changing forces. So that's not an engineering related item. It's more of a certification / training thing. And I think that's the direction that our industry is going in. But nice. I mean, I don't know that anything is very outdated unless you're talking about fall protection, in which case, we don't use safety belts. No one, if you're going to be subjected to fall arrest, but it's against the law to wear a safety belt.
Right.
And yeah. So, I mean, hopefully the fall protection technology gets better.
Nice. Now, there was a couple of people that said that LinkedIn user, that clown is moving behind you, Siobhan. I can't see who it is. Tell me who you are. And they said, just kidding. I love y'all. Thank you for sharing your time. Let's see. Tony Taylor, what's going on, my man? What's up, Pedro and Siobhan? You two are killing it. Thank you, sir.
Aww.
And he said, ha, flying hot dog. Yes, Sheldon, for sure. I do have 4 girls, so I know that song very well, by Miley Cyrus. And then Jesus said, did Miley Cyrus come in on the wrecking ball? No, so now
it was an interesting show.
Yeah, no, I bet it was, and
it was around when Wrecking Ball came out.
Really?
Yeah. Nice. So when did that song come out? Like 2014 or 15? It was her tour around that time.
Right. No, so now you brought up a good point, and I heard you say something. So, qualified versus competent. I know in the safety realm, and those that are on here can give me, some feedback on what I'm fixing to say. Now, in the entertainment industry, what makes you qualified and what makes you competent? I know in the safety world, construction, a competent person is somebody that shows the skill set that they can perform a certain task. To be qualified to do something, i.e. an engineer, somebody that, has that backing to say, okay, and write out all the calculations to say, this is our safe fall distance. This is our load chart that we're going to use. Do y'all have that issue in entertainment rigging?
Issue as in struggling to define it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes and no. I think a lot of laws, especially OSHA, tend to be ambiguous, and they're ambiguous on purpose, because you can't say exactly how things should be done, must be done, because there's always going to be an exceptional situation in which maybe this rule deems it would make this task less safe if you abided by this law. Mm-hmm. So with that said, typically qualified is more, let me back up. It kind of depends on the scope of what you're doing. So if your scope involves all of the responsibilities of production rigger, then I would say what makes you qualified is probably experience and a slew of certifications. So if you've got your ETCP arena and or theater rigger certification, if you've got an OSHA 30 card, if you've got competent person fall protection, you've got different, if you're a rope access technician, if you got all these different trainings, or if you're the person that's installed everything for Cirque or has installed everything for Disney, those guys don't really need the ETCP certification because they've got that experience under their belt, and that experience speaks for itself. But if you're outside of that scope, then what makes you qualified is if you have that, structural engineering degree.
Right.
It depends on the responsibilities, I would say.
Yeah, and the reason why
And
I
your
asked that
employer.
question, yeah, exactly. And the reason why I asked that question is because a lot of times, you get guys that come onto a construction site, they have a OSHA 30, but and you want me personally as a safety professional, I'm trying to build them up to be successful. So if I see that he's or she is not all the way competent to do the task that's at hand, then they become and deemed not competent until we can train them up to become competent. Again, giving them the tools and the stuff that they need and being qualified, like you said, having a crap load of experience, but then also having that engineering degree or, the certifications behind you to say that, hey, I've done my time, I put in my time, my blood, sweat, and tears. I am now qualified to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And I would say it all boils down to the scope of your responsibility and your, what's your liability? If something catastrophic happened and you were to go to court, how are you going to protect yourself? That's one way to think about it.
Nice. And to that question, does she have to be personally insured? So do you have to be personally insured to be an entertainment rigger?
I have not had to be personally insured. Yes, the question is yes and no. It depends. So I've worked for the IATSE union and I've worked for different production companies, Bigger Hammer, United Staging, Kill Switch. I've worked for a lot of different companies and they have their own insurance that protects their employees. So if something catastrophic were to happen, an OSHA inspector would probably check it out and try to figure out who's responsible for what happened. And a lot of times responsibility falls upon the leadership. But if you are the person who is overall in charge, and like if you own a company or if you are contracted to do a project and you're the head of rigging or you're the lead rigger, whatever you want to call it, then you should get liability insurance because you don't have a company protecting you. Gotcha. So it depends on if you're working under the umbrella of another company or if you're working for yourself. If you're working for yourself and you're not then yes, you should absolutely get liability insurance.
So you've always worked for a company. That way you can be underneath the umbrella of their insurance policy. Okay. Yeah. And that, that was a great question. Because again, if you're doing, side gigs and whatnot and actually doing rigging, for yourself contract wise, then again, that would be one of those things that you definitely have to have is that personal liability insurance, Tony Taylor wants to know what kind of dog's creeping around in the background.
That's Cooper. He is an Australian cattle dog, or he's an Australian blue heeler cattle dog and mixed with border collie. So my dog is a type A personality and he's very anxious and he has to be in control all the time. And he's basically my spirit animal. He's upset because my partner's in the other room and Cooper doesn't like it when we can't all hang out together. This is like our family time. This is our hangout time. And it's just driving him crazy.
Yeah, he's doing something different, throwing the wrench in the mix. So he's pacing, and he wants you to get back
It's
over
not
there.
according to plan.
Yeah. Valerie wants to know, you said you had to work to find someone that would mentor you. How did that go about finding a mentor? And how can we incorporate more mentorship programs to encourage learning new skills when someone shows interest?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. Can you leave that back up
Yeah.
so I can
Oh, yeah,
refer back
definitely.
to it?
Definitely.
Okay, how did I go about finding someone to mentor me? Here's my personal experience. There was someone in a leadership position, and I would ask him, hey, what does it take to do that? What does it take to be on that team, on your team? Oh, you have to know this and that. You have to know what a basket is. You have to know what a bridle is. You have to know what this is. Can you teach me? Oh, I don't really have time. Maybe, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, when are you available? Can I, by the way, I was 19. I was 19 years old. Or no, I take that back. I think I was 18. I was
Hmm.
about 18 years old. 17 or 18. I don't even know anymore. Either 17 or 18. Anyway, not important. So the first person that I asked to, I was trying to inquire and have someone teach me. He basically blew me off, and then there was someone. I was sitting in the like a break room waiting for our call time to start, and I was doing my homework. So this loudmouth rigger walks into the room, and I've got my headphones on, and he starts talking to me, and I'm like, okay, because this isn't an indication that I don't want to talk to people right now. Anyway, long story short, I asked that guy if he would mentor me, and he agreed. I think he had mentored someone else before, like one of his friends. So without getting into too much detail, unfortunately, at some point I asked, hey, why did you want to mentor me? Why did you want to take a chance on me? And he says, you want to know? And I'm like, yeah. And here I am thinking like, ooh, you saw that I was an intelligent individual, and oh, he's going to say something about my work ethic and blah, blah. And he goes, well, I thought you had really nice tits, and I figured I'd stare at them until you got bored with the training. And that was absolutely gut-wrenching.
Wow.
It was disappointing, it was insulting, it was just everything terrible, and it always like I always question, like, am I here because I'm pretty, or am I here because I have good work ethic and good, you know, because I know how to do my job and because I'm efficient and all of these things. And what's unfortunate is, even if you are all those things, people will still, because you're the female in a crew, people will still spread those rumors. Oh, she's only here because she's sleeping around. Oh, she's only here because, she's pretty or she's got boobs. Like that
Yeah.
attitude needs to go away. That kind of conversation needs to go away because, I there's so much more going on up here. I promise you that. And it's just, honestly, the reason I can't speak for all women, but the reason why a lot of women get upset when you say, hey, gorgeous, oh, you're so beautiful, is because, they hear it from the wrong people constantly, and it invalidates their everything else about them. It invalidates their work ethic and invalidates their intelligence, their ability to communicate and lead, and, all of this stuff. That's why women get upset, you know.
No, and didn't mean to jump in that, but I have to say this: those people that are out there that, and I first let me say I'm sorry you had to go through that, because that is a shitty mentor. That is a shitty person in general. And again, I have 4 daughters, so if anybody decides to do that to my daughters,
Wow.
please believe me and you're gonna have some words.
Yeah.
But again, that mentality has to go away, because again, women are coming up in the ranks. You're starting to see more and more on construction sites.
Yeah.
You're starting to see more and more become superintendents, become project managers. So it baffles me why somebody, male, would again stoop that to that level and just say what he said to you. That's crazy. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And that was a
It
very
is
good
what it
question,
is.
Mallory.
Yeah, it is what it is. And so to talk about the second part of Mallory's question,
Mhm.
I think that there should be mentorship programs. It should be more of an established thing that we offer people, and and it needs to be like marketed. It's not enough that they exist, because there might be
Mhm.
plenty of mentorship programs that exist, and like I don't even know about them. So not only do they need to exist and be structured to avoid sexual harassment, but they also need to be marketed so that people know that they exist.
Right.
And for my industry, ever since COVID, a lot of amazing professionals that are just like up there with their knowledge and experience they've been providing webinars, free and paid
Mhm.
webinars. And it's just terrific. And with all the terrible things that have happened to the entertainment industry this year, I do see the whole webinar thing as a good thing, because
Mhm.
more training is available, more content is out there, so
Right.
that when there's more content out there and there's other ways to learn, and hopefully mentorship programs start coming up,
Mhm.
then we're going to see less sexual harassment, we're going to see less gender discrimination and all that
Mhm.
nonsense.
Yeah, no, and then Mallory says, I can relate on so many levels. As a heavy equipment mechanic, your
Yep.
story is so familiar. Thanks, Mallory, for that.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Yikes, that is so slime." Yes, yes, it is. And to the mentorship um, programs, and somebody just Monica Alvarez. Yes, there should be mentorship training out there. And again, so to dive into a little bit of that, would you be willing and wanting to take on somebody and share your knowledge? Have you done any kind of mentorships or taken anybody under your wing?
I've never really taken anybody under my wing, but when people ask me for advice, I
Hmm.
love giving it. I love it when people reach out to me and ask me for resources.
Hmm.
I love sharing information. Um, I plan to put some videos out into the world, because I value education, because with education comes safety. I value safety. With education and safety is the elimination of harassment, and I value that too. So, absolutely.
Okay, now here comes a great question from Mallory. She says, "Are you in a position to offer your time and skills to be a mentor? Perhaps we need to advertise ourselves that we are welcoming to mentor." So again, that right there,
Yeah.
are you available to have that one-on-one, or even if you're mentoring a group of people, do you
Mhm.
have the time to dedicate to like a mentorship program?
So it's a bit of a again, COVID has really, really hurt the entertainment industry. And I haven't been on a job site since March. I've been
Wow.
doing a lot of remote work. So, so unfortunately, the mentorship that I can offer right now wouldn't be on the job site.
Mhm.
But, if anybody ever wanted to talk to me and ask me questions, I will absolutely find time in my schedule to like chat for 30 minutes or so. Because again, it's all the things that I value. And
Yeah, no, definitely.
yeah, I should market that myself.
Mental note. Put the sticky note somewhere. Again, some mentorship on entertainment rigging is going to come from Siobhan.
Is there a toggle on LinkedIn? Isn't there a thing on LinkedIn that says you can, like, you're open for, like, you can give advice and you can pick the topics that you share advice about?
Yeah, I think so. LinkedIn gurus. I'm not a LinkedIn guru. I don't know that could be the paid version of LinkedIn, the premium version of LinkedIn. I got the free version.
But you
It's,
know what? I mean, not, you know, I was 17, 18, 19
mhm.
during all of that. So during like the bad toxic relationship that I had,
Mhm.
um, I can tell you that 17, 18, 19-year-old me wasn't active on LinkedIn. I had it, but I wasn't active. So I think we need to think about how we're communicating to people of that age. Because I think because they're the most vulnerable. At least if you're an adult, you hopefully have more of an awareness for certain behaviors and you can identify that those are toxic and you don't want to be around a person like that. Although people of all ages fall into traps like that. So, but if we're going to target kids who are, juniors and seniors in high school, then LinkedIn probably isn't the best way to share that you're available for mentorship, to be a mentor.
Now, and you said you're 17, 18, 19, and when you're an adult, is it 17, 18, 19 usually considered an adult?
Like legally, sure.
Legally, but and I think you're meaning a more mature adult, past the age of maybe 21, 22. But with that being said, and I like the fact that you said targeting the juniors in high schools, juniors and seniors, is if we're gonna open something like that to mentorship, you have to be able to speak their language, in a sense, and
Yeah.
again, my oldest is 15, and talking to her, you have to speak a certain language. Again, all the new lingo that's coming out, again, technology and these damn things, phones, like it's crazy. Like, you can text message them and they can text faster than you can, but speaking their language and seeing what they're actually interested in, because I think entertainment rigging is very physical demand, right? You have to be,
Yes.
Physically fit to climb, to maneuver, to lift, and do certain things.
Yeah. Physically fit to climb and manure, definitely.
Manure?
I'm just kidding.
No, that was a good one. That was a good one. What is the biggest change you would like to see improved in the industry, i.e. construction, rigging, relationships, communication, etc.?
Yeah, the communication is big. There's a certain attitude that a certain personality has, and it's prevalent in entertainment rigging, it's prevalent in construction and in the military. We all know someone who's like this. It's that person who is, you recognize that they're insecure about something, probably something about themselves. They're not going to admit it to you, but they're probably loud, they're disrespectful, they're maybe cussing a lot. Not that cussing, there's anything wrong with cussing, but it like everything's a fart joke, or everything's like a racist joke or a sexist joke or something. Like, someone with like really colorful humor. Like, not that I'm discouraging that, but if like that's the only kind of conversation you can have at work, then we all know someone who's just loud, insecure, disrespectful. So we call that the rigitude.
Okay, that's a new word.
It's someone who thinks they know everything. So I mean, we just like, there's just certain attitudes that aren't very constructive, and it would be nice to see people, work on their self-improvement. Gotcha. It would be nice if just people in general didn't give in to petty drama. And then, speaking of petty drama, I've had, on probably 4 occasions, had someone's wife or girlfriend message me out of the blue saying, "You bitch, you homewrecker, F you, have fun with my husband, blah, blah, blah." Like, I'm just there for work. I don't hang out with these people. Like, or if I am hanging out with them, then it's not my problem that you're insecure in your relationship. I've been in a situation where I was rock climbing with someone and he goes, "Oh, if anybody asks, it's you, me, and so-and-so." And I'm like, "But so-and-so isn't here with us." And he goes, "Yeah, but I can't tell my girlfriend that, she'll freak out." And it's like, okay, well, now you're putting me in a really shitty situation that I didn't ask for. Right. And then after I dropped that guy off at his house, my phone blew up with these really nasty messages. And if you're insecure in your relationship, you're not in the right relationship. Either that person doesn't need to be in a relationship, or you don't need to be in a relationship. Someone or both of you need need some self-reflection and you need some self-improvement. Because when you improve yourself, then you're going to find a partner who's so much better, and you're not going to have those insecure issues. You're not going to worry about whether that person's cheating on you or not. So that's another thing that I would love to see change.
The
If
insecurities
there
of
were
like,
more women on the job site, then I wouldn't be the only one, and girlfriends and wives wouldn't be insecure. And I don't want any woman or man to be insecure about themselves. F that. Nobody has time for that. Love yourself.
Nice. No, and another question for Mallory: with your skills and your mention of the new podcast, I am also a graphic designer. Don't discredit your ability to mentor. You have a lot to offer. Perhaps break it down to bite-sized lessons.
That's
awesome.
I think that's excellent.
That's awesome.
That's awesome advice.
So the question, the biggest change you would like to see improved in any industry, one, obviously communication. Two, that self-love, self-care, to then be able to. And I was talking to somebody on the job site today on, you have to give yourself 100% of you before you can give your 100% to somebody else. If that makes your cup has to be full and sometimes overflowing in order to be able to give yourself to somebody else. And we're not just talking in relationships. You have to be mind, body, and soul in what you're doing, you personally, to be able to go to the job site and lead that charge and take those struggles and turn them into lessons learned and positives.
Absolutely.
So what has been your greatest experience being an entertainment rigger?
Oh, well, I have two of my favorite jobs. Actually, three. I have three favorite jobs. One of them, I was a World of Color maintenance technician on the graveyard shift at World of Color at Disney's California Adventure. Mm-hmm. I may have said World of Color twice, but it was fun. I loved it. It was grimy and it was slimy. I had to wear these muck boots. It kind of made it feel like I had an extra 2 pounds on each foot. I was in all my tech blacks, and if I had to open a CPL or an electrical cabinet, then I had to put on my safety glasses, the rubber gloves, the leather gloves, sometimes, and the suit, Tyvek and suit, then a face shield, and you get in there, you do your thing. I'm not an electrician. I only did what I was trained to do, was working within the scope of my responsibility. And we're out there with our tool bags. It's the graveyard shift. So it's dark. Sometimes it's humid. Some nights are more humid than others. Some nights are colder than others. Sometimes it rains on you and you're trying to, and by the way, it's a water show. So there's there's cables running everywhere, and there are all these actuators and stuff. And it's and motors. And it's oh, hey, all of this stuff is we're in a pool of water. Electricity and water don't really mix. So I remember one night, what is it called? Electrolysis. I think when water is electrified. I'm saying this wrong, but then the molecules separate and it creates an explosion. Well, we had these containers that protected the electronics from the water whenever all of that got submerged. Mm-hmm. And one night, the entire case exploded from electrolysis. And then ever since, it happened on a couple of occasions, and then we figured out what was happening. So then we couldn't do any more powered on work. Everything had to be turned off. Not just primary power, but everything had to be turned off.
Yeah,
and it made the troubleshooting process. It made the troubleshooting process a lot longer. So, but you know what? The other part that I love about the grime and slime and dirty work and the heavy motors and stuff was the crew. They were so much fun. I miss those guys and gals. I had so much fun doing the Chris Angel Mind Freak install at Planet Hollywood. That was every single day I felt incompetent. I would lead a crew and make a decision, And then the department head or the lead above me would be like, what the fuck is this? This isn't, who did this? You call yourself a rigger? And I'm just like, that was me. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh,
No,
and
that's
then
awesome.
my other favorite job was the Nick Walinda Volcano Live. Excellent crew, amazing people, different set of people, amazing workers, super fun, super knowledgeable, and we got to work by a volcano in Nicaragua for 2 weeks.
Holy crap.
Who gets
That's
to say
awesome.
that? Like, that was fun.
And that's my next question. So, with the entertainment rigging, do you get to travel the world for a lower cost because you're with the crew and, and rigging up those sets?
A lower cost? You mean like you get paid to do your job?
But I'm saying the travel. Do you have to pay for your travel, or does the company pay for travel?
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Typically, a company is going to pay for your travel. I don't know when you would pay for your own travel, unless it's like some community theater that's going on tour. I don't even know. But typically, the production company is going to pay for the travel because they pay for your salary.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, those that see this, the scroll down there, hit up the hotline if you want to talk to her live. So we put that on there. Whoever wants to call in. Another Mallory question. She said, if you could add another skill to your resume, what would you dive into?
My boyfriend probably wants me to say scuba certification. Like, he wants me to get scuba certified. I don't really have a need for that.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. What would I add? Oh, I'm working on my NASM personal trainer certification. So hopefully I'll have that one pretty soon.
Nice.
That'll be a nice one to add.
Safety consultant, my man Sheldon said, is there VR training for rigging?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say yes or no. Not for entertainment rigging.
Got you. Not allowed to say yes.
I think VR training might exist for certain industries. I don't know. Maybe on the rise.
Yeah. Mallory said, how can we improve the education and certification programs to better prepare your workers for the real world? While there are internships available, they put the effort in the hands of the student to explore and find employers, and they're not always readily available. How do we encourage more employers to get involved with the education? That is a very good question.
That's a great question. There are bigger companies, like there's bigger companies like Tate Towers, possibly PRG. There's another one, I can't think of the name. It's based out of Vegas, but there are certainly big corporation types that have they do offer internships. But then there's a lot of smaller mom and pop shops who may not have the time or the resources to offer something like that. So instead of an internship program, mentorship / onboarding training and on the job training, I think, is the solution. Onboarding training with a company like Disney, it's extremely thorough. They have you learn a lot, from the culture of the company to, different aspects of safety that you're going to have to deal with, to how to interact with a guest. But a smaller company that's not, responsible for as much as an entire company like Disney is, they can focus in on what it is that their crew is working on. So there are companies that are solely just rigging companies. And I think there's definitely a good rise with training. But I would say for employers out there, as well as for unions out there, it would be great to really think about, when someone is joining your team, having prior experience is ideal, but you're not always going to get that person. And you also don't want to just send someone out on a job site not knowing what they're doing and having to solely rely on job training. So I would suggest having onboarding training where you focus on the basics. And the basics could be like, here's what this is called, here's what this is called, here's how you assemble this, and it's very simple. And then you say, here, if you have any questions, here's your crew, here's who you talk to, here's who you ask for help. And you establish a culture at your workplace that is very cooperative, where people are looking out for each other and they're helping each other. I know a big issue, it's the Siobhan show now, I guess. A big issue with on the job training is sometimes we don't have the time, especially with entertainment. Everybody's on a deadline. You got to get the show up. It's all about getting the show up. So, if you don't have that time, then it can be hard to take the time to show someone how to do something the right way. It's just all these things. It's just all these different things that need to be considered. I have no idea if I'm still live or not. It says I'm still in the show. Pedro disappeared on me. Oh,
there we go.
He's coming back.
I'm back.
I was just thinking, like, how am I going to improv this? How much longer is this going to take, man? I finished my question and I panicked.
Yeah, no, it's doing all of this podcast stuff from a hotel room. Hotel internet sometimes doesn't work all that good.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, in that right there, I don't know how far you got in your path of the question, but it definitely for the mentorships and people that are out there listening, still with us, mentorships, internships coming from the construction side. Companies need to understand that a mentorship, a internship, again, they're still young professionals. They're learning their craft. They're learning their trade. So you have to spend and invest a little more time when you do get these interns. You just don't put them through a crash course, send them out to the field. Here you go. Here's your experience. Now go back to school. But even if it's heavily focused on the job training, which is what a lot of entertainment rigging is all about, and I'm sure a lot of construction as well. Even if that's the case, then you should do onboarding training again, because if you're on a tight deadline and you're so focused on getting the show up or on, I don't know, getting the building built. Mm-hmm. But like whatever the task is, everybody's got a deadline. So in order to avoid those moments where someone is trying to figure something out and they need your help and you're like, I don't have time to teach you, I'm just going to do this myself. But then that takes me away from doing this other important thing that I need to work on. In order to avoid situations like that and possibly situations that could turn dangerous, it's good to have training when you're not subjected to those pressures, when you do have the time, when you can stop and pause, do whatever. Nice. Mallory said, many construction workers are extremely skilled, but they can't get past the application/resume process. I think it's time for a change in how we recruit employees. How can we modify the hiring process to better assess the skills of new employees? The hiring process, and again, that just, you definitely have to see, what their skill set is. Yeah, and this is from a safety standpoint. Maybe you can touch on the rigging, but understanding what their skill set is, and again, the application resume, and this is before they even come on board. If they don't have a good resume or they can't finish the application, but they have a badass set of skills and a whole bunch of experience, but they're not getting the time of day because they don't have that resume. So maybe, hosting how to write a resume type stuff, Mallory. Maybe that might end up being some kind of content that you put out there. Offering a free service, to those people that have skilled trades that need a little help getting the resume and application process out of the way and helping them through that.
I don't really know what it's like for the construction industry per se, but for entertainment, a lot of it is who you know, and that at least kind of gets your foot in the door. Excuse me. But here's a thought. If say you get a resume, say you are looking for a crane rigger, not a crane operator, but someone who is going to do the attachment points, or maybe someone who's going to be the designated spotter. And you get a resume in front of you and you're looking for someone with those qualifications and their resume says entertainment rigger. You don't want to throw that away. Rigging is very similar to different aspects of construction, especially when it comes to crane rigging. So if you look at a resume like that, try to pick out what it says and see if there are transferable skills or if there are skills that you're able to adjust to fit your needs. So, it's just because you put someone in the next step in the hiring process, you still don't have to hire them, but you should at least give them an interview. You should at least ask them about their resume, ask them about those skills, ask them what it means to be a rigger for Disney or
concert.
Ask them what it means. Ask them what it means to be Pink's flyer, what it means to set up a system like that. Ask them what it means to hang a Metallica show. What is that? If they get, okay, come on. If Metallica's on their resume, you should probably hire them. Okay. Like
they're pretty badass, right? Yeah.
They probably know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? I think transferable skills or skills that can be adjusted or elevated is something that recruiters and hiring managers and anybody else who fits that sort of role needs to think about. As well as if you're someone submitting your resume, you may want to try to tweak some phrases or some words so that it appeals to the job that you're applying for.
Right.
Nobody knows what a flying director is. If you say, "Oh, I was a flying director for 10 years," people are going to be like, "Are you a pilot? Is that something with aviation? Were you a flight attendant? What is a flying director?" It's someone who's rigging the system to fly Pink. It's someone rigging the system to fly Elphaba and to fly Mary Poppins. These performers are putting their lives literally on the lines. So why wouldn't you want someone like that on your team? Why wouldn't you want someone on your team who their job is to keep people safe, is to protect people from harm or death or anything else catastrophic?
Right.
So, as if you're in a position where you're trying to figure out who to hire, especially in this COVID environment, if you're getting an influx of people who used to work for an entertainment company, try to figure out how their skills are going to help your company. I guarantee you're going to find something. And if not, give them a chance to tell you.
Nice.
There are incredible people.
Ron Black, that was a good answer.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Mallory said, "Do you think we could benefit from holding on-site performance-based interviews and skip the resume?" Definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I know, and Ron can probably, if he's still watching, can attest to this. You get a guy that comes into a fabrication shop, they're not looking at your resume. They're seeing how good you can actually weld, how good you can, cut and do full pin welding and that type of stuff. So yeah, I completely agree with on-site performance.
A resume is, hey, I can do this. An on-site performance interview is, all right, what you got?
Yeah.
Show me.
Exactly.
It's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thanks, Mallory, for giving all these great questions. Always good to live with the chat. It's good.
And
So
recognize if someone has potential.
yeah, no, definitely. And we're at an hour and 5 minutes. So,
Ooh.
any last words you want to give to our listeners, our viewers that are out there?
I do.
Any words of advice?
Real quick. I will be hosting a podcast. I don't know when the launch date is. Maybe I shouldn't have said that publicly. Oh well, it's out there. I'm hosting a podcast called Industry Explorers, and I'm in pre-production for it right now. But once it launches, this is what it's about. I'm Industry Explorer Siobhan Colleen, and I'm going to take you on a journey. We're going to embark on an excavation of unconventional career paths of the most interesting professional creatures. There may be Indiana Jones music at the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. I can't afford the rights to that. But, here's oh, that's so great. Here's the thing. When I was in high school, I wanted to be an Imagineer. I wanted to be a Disney Imagineer, and I wanted to create shows. And I did hop on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I tried searching for Imagineer, and I tried looking for those people and asking them for advice. Where'd you go to college? What did you major in? What should I major in? What AP classes should I take? What other classes should I take? Should I be involved in a club? Like, I wanted to know exactly what to do. And I didn't do any of it. What happened was I started doing theater in high school. I got involved in lighting. Then I got involved with stagehand work, and I thought I wanted to be a lighting designer. I discovered rigging. Rigging, I had no idea existed until I was already in that environment. And then from rigging, I, became a safety professional, a fall protection trainer, a technical writer, and, all these different things. And I've had a blast. I've really enjoyed it. But this podcast, Industry Explorers, is for people. It's for the high school kid who has no idea what to do after he or she graduates. It's for the person who doesn't know if they want to go into the military, vocational school, trade school, or college, or community college. It's for the person suffering an existential crisis. It's for the seasoned worker who's thinking about a career change. There's so many careers out there that I have no idea exist. And I want to discover that through my incredible guests. So people can learn about what's out there. They can learn about the adversities that people had to interact with and had to overcome. And then in those adversities are life lessons, all those pivotal moments where there was a job change or a change in structure at your company or whatever. Those pivotal moments are full of life lessons that I think everyone would benefit from. So that is the podcast that I am starting. So please, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'm more likely to accept invites if I get a message because, like I said, it's hard to know when someone's trying to invite you to connect just because they want to hit on you or something. Like I am weary of that because of my experience, but hit me up, send me a message, ask me if there's an episode out, ask me if you want to be a guest, and I'm going to launch it by the end of this year. I am so excited because it's going to benefit so many people.
Nice. And again, we got it first here on the X Factor of Safety. We got to,
right.
chat and know about the podcast that you got, which is great. And again, I'm always here to help those fellow podcasters, fellow pioneers that want to go out there and become podcasters. I greatly appreciate, all the effort that goes into it. And these live streams, again, these live streams are for the people that were in the chat box. So again, we thank you, everybody that came in here. Mallory said, again, great show. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Jesus, great show. Thank you, brother. So with that being said, go follow Siobhan. Find her on LinkedIn. Any other social handles that you might have that you want to throw out there? Just doing LinkedIn. Oh,
my Instagram is @IndustryExplorer. There is a Facebook public page, Industry Explorers, and a LinkedIn page, Industry Explorers.
Well, there you go. Y'all go look her up, find her, reach out and, connect. Again, thank you, Siobhan, for taking the time out to be on the show. We greatly appreciate you and what you've brought
Thank you.
to the table. So I hope y'all got some value out of this. So with that being said, everybody, y'all know where to find me at. The X Factor is Safety. Everywhere except for Twitter. Twitter is Safety X_Factor. Hit the X Factor hotline anytime. Those that are looking for mentorships, I'm always available. And if I can't answer the questions, I can definitely reach out and talk to somebody that could answer your questions. Those people that liked Antonio, JP, Ron, thank you guys for liking the stream. Ask yourself that one question. What is your X Factor? Until next time, we'll see you later.